And a big deal, you know, it's like, that's why I took it. Check it. I get myself, yeah. I mean, I was ready to put it in the back and, you know, my son's get work, and it's like, so I started working, and it's good. I still didn't get back. I told everybody was texting me today. I would have had 20 people stop. Yeah, I know. What's wrong? I was telling you.
Oh, you did?
Excellent timing. Everybody has. That's why I raised the big hitters. I don't want to be like that time I showed up. Everybody's here. I thought I was on time.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Big Bear Fire Authority to order at 5 p.m. on August 12th, 2025.
Recording in progress.
I'm sorry, I didn't turn my mic on.
That's okay.
And I would like to let the public know that I understand that Director Hicks is participating in today's meeting remotely under the Brown Act. Director Hicks, can you please provide the board with a brief statement regarding your participation?
Okay, I'm participating in today's meeting remotely due to a caregiving need for an immediate family member that prevents me from participating in person. There is not someone 18 or older in the room with me.
Thank you, Director Hicks. And just so everyone knows, Director Hicks must participate through both audio and visual technology with this camera on. All right. And could we please have, we'll stand and have a moment of silence, and Director Rowe will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shordell, could we please have roll call?
Of course. Director Herrick?
Here.
Director Hicks?
Here.
Thank you. Director Melnick?
Here.
Director Putz?
Here.
Vice Chair B. Rowe?
Here.
Director J. Rowe?
Here.
Director Russo?
Here.
Director Walsh?
Here.
Director Ziegler?
Here.
Board Chair Segovia?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move into presentations with some employee recognitions.
Thank you, Chair Segovia and board. Tonight, happy to introduce firefighter paramedic Andrew Rodriguez. Come on up, Andrew. As of end of May, Andrew celebrates his 5th year with the authority. He was hired In 2020 as an AO EMT. Within 5 months, promoted to AO paramedic. In 2022 to firefighter paramedic. I didn't know he could talk for the first 5 months of his employment because he just didn't talk, he worked. And you can't ask for much more than that. He's a very hard worker. He has a great personality. He is an absolute asset to our department. He's joined here tonight by quite a few family members. Mom, dad, sister, niece, grandpa.
In-law.
In-law. I think aunt, cousin. He's well liked, and it's not just by them. He's definitely part of our family. We're honored to have him in our organization. Andrew, present you with your certificate here. It says, in recognition of your support and dedication to the Big Bear Valley through your 5 years of service to the fire department since May 28, 2020. I want to thank you for your hard work, dedication, and commitment. The department wishes to express its gratitude for your hard work and loyalty. You've been an important part of our accomplishments. Congratulations. We're happy to have you with us. Now if I could have Chief Rogers. Tonight we're recognizing Chief Rogers for his 20 years of service. Dan is a battalion chief. Began working with Bear City Fire as a paid call well prior to myself as a paid call, but was hired to full-time firefighter paramedic in 2005 with me. He promoted to engineer in 2010, captain in 2013, and battalion chief in 2019. Dan's been our training officer. He's now a gigantic help for me in risk reduction and dealing with a lot of the inspections. He's also been a labor rep. He's a definitely intelligent employee. He gets a lot done for us. He's a great writer. He's a very hard worker. He loves the organization. He's dedicated to this valley. And again, very happy to have him. I've been lucky to kind of come through my career with Dan, and we've had a great time working together. From our time on the ambulance to our time as battalion chiefs and out on fire assignments throughout the state. He's joined tonight by his wife, Tina. Their boys could not make it. They have 2 sons, Austin and Tanner, both getting into the fire service themselves. I'll read yours, Dan, as well, in recognition of your support and dedication to the Big Bear Valley through your 20 years of service to the fire department since June 25th, 2005. I want to thank you for your dedication and commitment. The department wishes to express its gratitude for your hard work and loyalty. You've been an absolutely important part of all our accomplishments. Two other employees that we're recognizing are not here, so I was kind of waiting to hold them for the end. But our fire mechanic Keith Haas is celebrating his 5th year with us, and Keith has been an absolute asset to our department. Having him in-house here, the ability to take care of minor damages, repairs. Quite a delay.
There's a delay.
Yep. Keith doesn't like the attention, so he didn't want to be embarrassed by standing up here in front of all of you. So we are very happy to have Keith. Again, a huge asset to our department as far as keeping all our rolling stock on the road. So we're honored to have Keith. Again, he celebrates 5 years. And then engineer Jimmy Daniels was also hired in 2005 as a firefighter paramedic, again with me as well. And he promoted to engineer in 2009. He's not here, he's out on an adventure somewhere in the world. That is his MO. We're honored to have all of these employees with us, and I'm proud to recognize them. So thank you.
Okay, moving along to director's general announcements. Does any director have anything that they would like to start off with? No? Okay. We will move into public comment. Members of the public who wish to comment on topics not included on the agenda or comment on agendized topics are invited to provide comments. Please note that state law prohibits the authority from taking action on items not listed on the agenda. There is a 3-minute maximum time limit when addressing the board. This time limit may be shortened by the chair to accommodate a large number of speakers. Let's start with Britannia Huther.
She's coming. She's coming. No. I think it's first.
Britannia.
All right. Members of the board, for years this department has been sinking. For years you have been at the helm. Let's stop pretending this is about anybody else. This board is the one that broke this department. You have missed the warning signs that you were given in writing face-to-face in plain language. The association came to you over and over and told you that there was a problem. We asked you to step in. We gave you every opportunity to act, and you still chose nothing. You stood by and let Willis run unchecked, making reckless decisions that drove us straight into financial crisis. Now, instead of owning that, you want to shift the blame anywhere but yourselves. This is not leadership, this is failure. Right now, the atmosphere in the department is toxic. We don't feel supported, we don't feel valued. We show up to work wondering if we'll even have enough resources to do our job safely. On your watch, you let the boots on the ground fall from 13 to 10. You are putting our lives at risk, and you are putting every resident and visitor to this valley at risk. For many, it has reached a point where we don't even want to come to work anymore, not because we don't care about the job, but because every single day is spent scrambling, trying to fix crisis after crisis created by management at the top, and you are at the top. We have no budget, not because of circumstances beyond our control, but because you failed to pass one. You failed to pass a budget because you're too busy bickering amongst yourselves over who should pay more. What's even more astonishing is that that is not even on this month's agenda to be discussed. That is beyond negligent. It's asinine. We even agreed to defer our contract negotiations for 6 months to give you time to figure out the budget. 6 months, and here we are, no budget, no progress, and more delays. That is a complete failure of leadership. Meanwhile, we are expected to perform at 100% with resources cut to the bone. We did not sign up for this job to get rich. We did not sign up for this job to get rich. We signed up this job to serve our community, but we can't even do that effectively without leadership that values us, supports us, and takes responsibility for the mess it's created. This department didn't get here overnight, and it sure didn't get here because of one person. It got here because year after year, the board failed to act. You created this crisis, you need to own it. Until you face that truth, nothing will change except for more good firefighters walking away.
Thank you. Catrice Duncan.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Tonight marks the third meeting past the time when this board should have approved the 2025-26 budget. When I recently attended a July 10th ad hoc finance committee meeting, Director Herrick has stated plainly that he was going to recommend to the board that the current budget be passed with the stipulation that the inequality of financial contribution by the two parties of the JPA still be investigated. Why is there no agenda item for the budget tonight? What is happening behind closed doors and out of the public eye? What is this board hiding from the public? Let me remind you, Big Bear Lake keeps harping on this inequality. However, in the 2023-24 budget, there was a difference of $1 million. You didn't care back then. Last year, there was a difference of almost $2 million. You didn't care back then. This year, there's actually a lower difference of $1.7 million, and now this is an issue. It's hard for the average resident not to perceive that this conflict between the two parties of the JPA is not some personal vendetta. While I applaud you all for finally asking questions that you never asked before when Chief Willis was in charge, why are you holding the budget hostage? And I will remind you once again that at the May board meeting, you all voted unanimously to approve the budget and let Chief Wagner find the answers to your questions simultaneously. Your current behavior is sending a message to your new chief as well as your fire department of no confidence. Please reconsider your actions and the unintended consequences to your fire department and the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrice. Andrew Crane.
How's it going? I don't have a pre-written speech, but just to talk a little bit about the budget and what the consequences of not having one is. So when the budget isn't passed, we have to resort back to the last year's budget. And if there's something in there that's something that we need now that isn't in last year's budget, we can't pursue that. So me training to go into the EMS role, we have a doctor that works for us that we utilize his DEA license that was supposed to have a contract in July. He is working for free, and we are using his license to be able to buy narcotics for the fire department. And we have to go to him every month and say, sorry, we don't have a contract, we don't have the funds to provide you with the contract that we promised you so that we can utilize his license. That's one. Two, there was a 1,000-acre fire in Big Bear. 2 of our resources are on it. We're using a Tran loan earlier than we've ever had to use. And we don't have the funds or the projected funds of what we can do to adequately staff and support our fire department. Not sure why the budget's not on the agenda this month. To me, that's just kicking the can down the road. And it's a canned phrase that we've used for the last 5 years, but we're not even talking about it. Nothing can happen if there's no discussion on the budget. So to these guys' point, something needs to change. We can't just keep operating when we have things that are evolving every month without a budget. So please reconsider, pass a budget, make addendums in the future, whatever it is, but we need a budget to operate. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. John Bidwell.
Well, board, community, I don't want to cloud with all this negativity, all the positive stuff that just occurred. So congratulations to everybody that had all their longevity stuff. I'm proud of all of them. It has come to our attention that there is a growing concern among the community regarding the ongoing meetings. There is a palpable sense of confusion and frustration as to reasons for the continuous delays and the lack of progress. Over the course of 4 meetings, we have observed a shift from initial assurances that the budget would be passed in good faith with provisions for amendments to subsequent meetings where the budget was voted down by all CSD members and 3 Big Bear Lake members. And now to a point where the budget is not even on the agenda. The lack of progress is setting us back significantly. The community is no longer willing to passively observe as a once great organization faces potential damage and losses due to conflicts and opposition from the boards. We are seeking clear answers regarding your plan and direction. This issue has persisted for over a year without any clear guidance. The association and community had previously attributed all issues to the former chief, providing the new administration with a clean slate to work with positively. The authority members currently enjoy the best relationship we've ever seen, with substantial community support behind us. However, the missing piece remains the support from the board and more specifically the Big Bear Lake board right now. While the CSD may not be taking any action, which I understand, and I know it frustrates the Big Bear Lake directors, but their inaction is far less damaging than the actions taken by the Big Bear Lake side right now. We seek clarification on whether this is being driven by the city manager or by the board of directors. The morale issues caused within this organization are significant. It is disheartening that despite our dedication to serving this community with utmost commitment, we feel a lack of support from our leadership, which is you guys. We look forward to your prompt response and clear plan of action.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to the chief's report.
Thank you. So as of July 22nd and 23rd, as we discussed in the last month's meeting, we had conducted basically classroom training. It was in coordination with San Bernardino County Fire, CAL FIRE, Big Bear Fire, Bear Valley Community Hospital, and the Sheriff's Department, along with Bear Valley Unified School District to perform mass casualty incident active shooter training on the 22nd and 23rd of July all of those units came together and actually performed a live drill at Big Bear High School. That went very well. It was received very well by all of the participants. And a very useful drill. Is our first time actually conducting one of those drills. Went so well that actually they are planning to do another drill at a different venue, just again to continue to have us working together, coordinating, and seeing how we work together, meaning fire, rescue, and law enforcement in the fall. So went out very well. A lot of hard work from Chief Fonda here behind me, Andrew Crane in the crowd there, and additional members of staff. The tactical vests were brought up in last month's meeting. Director Melnick and I believe Director Hicks had stated that they'd like to see all of our safety personnel in vests. We kind of found the balance point, which is we have enough vests. They are all adjustable to meet the needs of all on-duty personnel every given day. So we have a total of 10 for those personnel. So if we were to encounter that, everybody will have a vest. Again, that was handled by Chief Fonda, found an excellent deal for us, and a nice happy medium to make sure we can take care of people on duty. Battalion Chief Parham, our County TAC Ashley Eccles, Captain Slosher, and Flight Paramedic Zachary Keel have been working together for the past few months to bring back CPR and AED training. We'll be conducting those classes again back here in person at Station 281 in this room. That will be every other month starting in September. We already have 7 signed up for that, 2 for November. Cost is $75 per person, and they can register online at bigbearfire.org. We're happy to get that back. It was definitely something that the public appreciated, so we're glad to offer that again to them. Along with that, Chief Parham is also working with ship personnel to provide hands-only CPR training. They'll do that in the community at requested venues. This would be for the people that don't want to have the full CPR certification, but would like to assist in CPR. Basically just doing the compressions without dealing with airway and that kind of stuff. Biggest thing as far as life-saving is keeping that heart moving, that blood circulating as that forward pump. So the more people that we can get engaged in that, the more potential that our responders have to save a life. So we'll be offering those classes as well. The Explorer program is coming back. Recruiting got brought up again. A lot of hard work going into that with engineer Sean Sutherland, again, county technician Ashley Eccles, and myself. He's worked together to get all the documents taken care of by Boy Scouts of America. And we have the flyers put together, applications going together. We're looking to get that actually up and running by early fall, September, October. They hustled on it, and actually within the last week, they're about ready to have things finalized and going so that we could actually get our own Explore post back up and running. A lot of interest that we're hearing from the community on this, from high school students. So it'll be good for us to start getting that recruiting piece going back again for Big Bear Fire. With that, the ride-along program was looked at in coordination and kind of an offshoot of the Explore program with Battalion Chief Fonda again. Ashley Eccles, they're updating our current ride-along program. We're going to now be looking at this for adults 18 years and older who have currently been enrolled in either fire EMS courses or are current or former explorers. Basically, we've kind of had concerns over the fact that some people were a little too young and the exposure to the things that we see on scenes is not appropriate for them. So we're kind of honing that down a little bit, but still maintaining the ride-out program. And that is all I have.
Thank you. I'm really excited about the Explorer thing, and it's always great to have more hands for CPR. So that's really exciting.
Absolutely. Great programs to be offering to the community and just gets us out there meeting the people we serve.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's move along to the finance officer's report.
This report is as of June 30th, so this is wrapping up our fiscal year. This is really preliminary because, as you know, at year end, there's many audit adjustments, accruals, and such that come along, and that takes a couple of months of work. But this is basically our cash basis as it stands right now. For revenues, we came in at 1% of budget for fiscal year 24-25. And expenses, again, were over budget by 3% because of the reimbursable mutual aid salaries, because we had a pretty active fire season. And those are really the only two reportable changes against budget. If there's any questions.
Yeah, I have a question, if that's okay, Kendi.
Yeah, absolutely, Chuck.
clarify something for me, would you? When I looked over the financials, am I reading it right that we had a $1 million deficit on the ambulance service? Is that correct for the year?
That's correct, but again, there's going to be salary accruals based on beginning of year and end of year, and this is preliminary, so I will have some different numbers for you going forward.
Do you see them being substantially different than what we're looking at here?
I don't think it will be substantially different. Basically, the main reason for that is we've had a reduction in the number of calls as we demonstrated in a previous meeting. And so for the next fiscal year, I did budget that revenue down a little bit, but I also reallocated salaries. Each year I look at that and make sure I'm allocating the correct amount of salaries to the ambulance department versus the fire department. But essentially the answer to your question is reduced ambulance runs for last fiscal year.
Okay, yeah, we need to talk about that, Madam Chairman, at some point. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions of Kristen? No? All right, let's move on to the consent calendar. Does anybody have an item that they would like to pull from the consent calendar? Hearing nothing.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Okay, and do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Chardell, could we please have roll call?
Director Ziegler,
Now. Vote on the consent calendar.
Yes.
Director Herrick,
Yes.
Director Hicks,
Yes,
Director Melnick,
Yes.
Director Putz,
Aye.
Vice Chair Biro,
Aye.
Director J. Rowe,
Aye.
Director Russo,
Aye.
Director Walsh,
Aye.
Board Chair Segovia.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, we have no public hearing. Moving on to new business. We have FA4, approval of amended and restated lease agreement between Big Bear Airport District and Big Bear Fire Authority. Chief Wagner.
Back in 2017, the authority entered into a partnership agreement with Air Methods Inc. It's established air medical transport services within the Big Bear Valley. With that agreement occurring between us and Air Methods, we then went into agreement with the Big Bear Airport to lease the Civil Air Patrol building as quarters for our helicopter crew, that's H-285. The agreement between the airport and the authority is up for renewal, and the only significant change that we came up with between General Manager Ryan Goss and myself is that we were putting aside maintenance funds, $800 a month to a total $9,600 a year, and that was an ongoing maintenance fee. And the only real change that has occurred since then is that we've actually just put a cap on that maintenance fee so that it stops at $30,000. We don't have to keep going and throwing money at something that's maxed out. We've toured the building, myself and General Manager Goss, and there was minor work that was needed, some sanding and paint on the outside decks and stairwells. That's being handled by personnel. So at this point, staff is recommending or advising the board to allow me to enter into that lease agreement with the airport so that we can maintain that lease agreement.
That's great. I mean, that the building was, there weren't a lot of repairs that needed to be made.
Just a little bit of paint.
Yeah,
Other than
that's
that,
great.
everything's looking good.
Great. All right, do we have any questions of, I'm sorry?
Chief, just remind me again, with the agreement itself, is it just to maintain the building up to $30,000, or is there a cash portion that is paid to the airport?
As far as a rent,
Right. Yes.
it's a $1 rent.
Okay, thanks for that.
Anything else? Okay, then I'm looking for a motion to approve. What's that? Oh, sorry. Public comment? Anybody? $1 sounds like a pretty good deal. All right. Can I get a motion from anybody?
I'll move this.
A second.
Okay. Chardell?
I'll even throw in the doubt.
Well, there you go. Chardell, can we have roll call, please?
Of course. Director Walsh,
Aye.
Director Ziegler,
Yes.
Director Herrick.
Aye.
Director Hicks,
Aye.
Director Melnick,
Aye.
Director Putz,
Aye.
Vice Chair Biro,
Aye.
Director J-Rowe,
Aye.
Director Russo,
Aye.
Board Chair Segovia.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to FA5, Ad hoc Strategic Planning Committee update, possible additional revenue. Chief Wagner.
So the last strategic planning ad hoc committee meeting was pretty widely attended by a number of realtors that were stating their concerns over a CFD and its impact or potential impact on development. We listened to their concerns, and basically where we ended up with was a number of questions from a realtor, actually one main question from the realtor and a few from Directors Melnick and Chair Segovia. I have the answers for them. First question being number of properties in the CSD versus the Big Bear Lake, because we've heard, an estimates of the numbers of total buildings in our jurisdiction, but they wanted them separated. We have is 3,038 undeveloped properties in the CSD and 1,073 properties in Big Bear Lake. Question that was also asked was a dollar amount that stops development or an estimate, and that's unknown. It's a very tricky question to answer because it's too nuanced. I mean, it's what would prevent somebody from building? Well, we don't know what their income level is. If they are completely strapped for cash and they're looking to build something small, then it wouldn't take much to potentially limit that person from wanting to move forward versus somebody else who's got a pretty wide open budget and they're building a large custom structure. It's a very hard question to answer. They could not give me a direct answer on that when asked, so I apologize for that.
I think my question, I'm sorry, wasn't so much a dollar amount, was have they looked at other communities where putting a CFD in place has impacted where they had development and started to go down? Where it's just, I realize that there isn't a dollar amount, but trying to get a sense of when does it have a negative impact on development in a community. And I know that that's not a dollar figure, it's a range and it varies based on the community, but an idea that consultants can't give us any sense of here are 16 communities that put them in place and development wasn't impacted. In fact, they had all this development that continued to occur versus here's 4 communities where they put it in place and development just stagnated and stopped. And I understand that there's a myriad of factors in the economy and all these different things that go into play, but I got to imagine that this isn't the first time that question has been asked, and that there has to be some sort of information that we can at least digest.
Understood, and I'll get you that answer.
Thank you.
May I elaborate? Sorry. Most of the community facilities districts are based upon a plot of land, which could be 1,000 acres that's developed all at once. And they're putting in fire departments and pools and tennis courts. And so it's a little bit different than our circumstance here. So it's going to be, I think, hard to find that answer an after the fact district put in place. And it's just my understanding of how it works. So, but if there is an example, it would have to be an example of an existing community in a district overlaid when we're already, I don't know what we are, 60, 70, 80% developed. So
I'll add that in work to get you guys an answer. Another question was based on legality of it. As you just said, Director Herrick, a lot of CFDs that are seen or Melrose taxes are done on subdivision areas where they're going to put in hundreds, if not thousands of homes, and you need to provide that infrastructure. A lot more that's related to roads and sewer and electrical, et cetera. And so it was brought up by one of the visitors to that meeting, is it legal to do it on a house-by-house basis? So could you have an entire neighborhood that is not in the CFD because it's all currently been developed, and that one empty lot does develop and now they would be annexed into the CFD? Yes, that is legal to do. It's not restricted to subdivisions that are all new. Question from Board Chair Segovia, would vacant landowners be notified at the creation of a CFD or only when they go to develop? And that answer is that they could be notified if we chose to do that. So if we decided to go forward with the CFD, we could then send out mailers to notify people that a CFD is in effect in the area, but it's not something that occurs from the county or the city or the CSD just automatically. Can we do a CFD on commercial only? And do we have a number on the commercial lots? A CFD can be placed for commercial only. That is possible for us. And I'm still waiting to hear back from the county on the number of commercial lots versus residential. I apologize for that delay. Were ADUs included into the square footage? When they did the cost allocation analysis, they were just identifying single family dwellings. It was not specific to whether something was identified as an ADU. And they looked at, again, square footage on that. So they were not specifically identified as this would be in or out. That would be a decision of the board moving forward if you wanted to, allow an exception for those or not include them, or include them just as single family structures. And then I believe you'd had the question, Director Walsh, on square footage, additional square footage to an existing structure. And typically what they do is annex in the addition, not the entire property.
Okay.
Again, that'd be at the discretion of the board and development of the CFD. We didn't really make too much grounds in that area. At this point, though, my recommendation for consideration of the board would be that at this point we kind of put a temporary hold on the strategic planning ad hoc as we wait for the results of the standard recovery evaluation. I think things kind of got initially done out of line, all with great intentions. We have a risk analysis in our draft master plan, from 2017. So we understand the risks that exist in our valley. With the standard of cover, we will then have validated data that tells us what level of coverage is appropriate for what we have up here. Included in number of calls, response times, travel distances, weather, etc. With that, if they say we should add something, then I think would be a better time for us to all get together and consider going forward with a CFD based on actual data that says we should add this unit, this number of personnel, et cetera, and where do we place them. I think that would be a better process for us. And I'm hoping that everybody would agree with that. So with that, that's where I end, and I'll take any other questions you may have.
When do you think we can get that data?
The standard recovery? If I recall right, they were saying somewhere around end of November to December that they're anticipating to get that data.
I think the reason maybe we got a little bit ahead was just because the strategic planning committee ran out of options, so we just kept chewing through with the only option that we had left. So,
definitely not a criticism, just
yeah, no. I'm not taking it as a criticism, but I think that's why we just kept going. And it sounds like it probably would be a good idea to stick a pin in it until we get that report before moving forward, because it might change our thinking.
Well, it provides a better why, in my opinion, to anybody that comes along that says, why are you doing this? We don't need it. Well, if the data suggests that it's recommended, then we do have that support behind us. This is why we're doing this. It's not a because.
Yeah. Larry?
Wasn't there also a distinction that you can have a Mello-Roos for manpower or a Mello-Roos for facilities and tangible property?
There was a misunderstanding in that as what was developed in the initial CFD or CFD1 for the CSD that exists currently. They separated commercial property or commercial development from residential development. So the two sides are going to be collected differently. Commercial developments are treated one way, and that was the intent of that was going to be to actually provide a station, whereas the subdivisions would be built a separate way, and that was to provide the personnel. So it's not one or the other.
Wasn't our focus on up staffing,
adding personnel,
rather than a piece of equipment or a fire station?
That's correct. I was referring to CFD1 in the CSD from 2007.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments? Randy?
Remind me or help me understand what we're waiting for exactly and what information that is gonna provide us? That, I'm not quite following that part.
The City Gate analysis is a standard of cover review. So they're going to be looking at the call volumes, station locations, number of personnel, response times, weather conditions, and a number of other items from their scope that we've already began collecting data for. And what that will tell us is, are we staffed appropriately in the correct locations? Should we be adding staffing? Are we staffed just fine as is? It's going to kind of give us a better idea of what we're looking at as far as maybe adding or maintaining for the future.
Do we somehow think that since the last time we did this, I don't know, 8 years ago, whatever it was, that somehow we're fine in terms of service levels and money and all that kind of stuff? I mean, is anybody entertaining that thought that we're all good how we are?
I don't think anybody's thinking that. We're just waiting for the data. So.
Okay, so where I end up is, why wouldn't we just move forward instead of waiting more months to get something going? Because as we've learned, if and when we do put the CFD in, it's not like all of a sudden the money spigot's going to come on. It's going to take years, right? You did some nice projections for us that shows how it's going to take years, and that was one of your points, as I recall. It's going to be years before we see any significant
Plus the fact we might have something started in between here and there.
That we would lose out on.
Right.
Yeah, there's that part too. We missed that opportunity as well. So help me out here. Why wouldn't we move forward with the CFD as expeditiously as possible, or make a decision that we're not going to bother with it if we don't think there's an appetite for that? But it just, to me, it gets to a point where it's sort of like we're waving this carrot out there, but we never quite get to it. And so I'm concerned that we make some decisions one way or another so that we can either pivot and that we won't be getting that revenue, even though that revenue is going to be a long time in coming, but that we just don't keep kicking the can down the road.
I think for me, it's we don't know what we need to ask for in the CFD without knowing what we need. And we don't know what we need. We have this vague amorphous idea that we know we need, but what do we need? And where do we need it? And how much does that actually cost? So how do we put a CFD in place to ask people for money for something that we don't know yet what it is? Do we need another fire station? Do we need another fire truck? Where does it need to be? How many people do we need? And so without having data as to where we actually are and what our services are and where we need services, how do we put a dollar value on that and ask and put it in place?
Okay.
And so that for me is why it made sense. I mean, I think it's one of the things everybody keeps saying we're delaying, that we've been asleep at our job. And the reality is we're trying to get information to be able to do our job. This has not been a viable fire department for a long time. And we're trying to understand why and how we make it viable. And the only way we can do that is to get data. And we just don't have it.
So work through this with me. Let's say we have that data instantly right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say, and I'd be willing to bet you it's going to be something like this because we've been dealing with this for years, and we did a similar analysis a number of years ago. And we know that we need more people on engines, and I don't know what the exact number is, but we've had different models out there. But millions of dollars of more personnel. We need another station, ideally, and equipment to staff that. Then what? Because we would have a target, right, of we want to fund a new station and more personnel and all, millions of dollars we'd want to spend. But if again, we snapped our fingers and we put the CFD in place right now, it's gonna be, I don't know what it was, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. It's a
Depending
long-
on what those dollars are.
a long time before we'd even get into a place to be able to afford that. So, and then that's so much time that's gonna pass, I wonder if things are gonna change then. So, to me, maybe I'm wrong, but we reach a point where we either need to decide, yes, we have the gumption to do this and we want to move forward, and we're going to do our best to sort of aim somewhere, right, based on some assumptions that we can make, or we're not going to do it, because I have a hard time understanding how, even if we have that information, how that's going to impact what we're going to do, because it's so slow and so far out there to get the money. And I see it sort of as more of an insurance policy, not something that we're going to rely on to fund us out of our hole now, because it won't do that no matter what. So I see it as supplemental and maybe anticipatory of where we go. Anyway, something to consider.
Okay, I'm kind of going along with Randy on this, because it's like, okay, maybe we don't know the exact amount, but we know we're gonna need a certain amount of things. I think between Christie and everybody else, and like the chief and all the firefighters, I think we have probably an idea of what it's gonna be. And like Randy said, it's gonna be so far down the line. It's like, what are we waiting for? 4 or 5 years to happen, and then we say, okay, start now. Let's start this process now. And I said, even if we make some mistakes, at least we got the whole thing started and the ball rolling. So I think with all the intelligence we have here that work here, I think they can come up with something that's pretty close to what everyone's going to want to need, and we get it going now instead of just dragging our ass and not do anything.
I believe the same thing.
Yeah,
You're correct.
I agree.
You can put that on your calendar. You're correct, Ray.
I'm gonna make note of that, Bob.
Yeah.
Larry?
We had a subcommittee that came up with a body count, the equipment count, and a price of $250,000. So it seems to me we've already identified what we want and how much it'll cost. So yes, you've already got some figures to work with. There's not much of a reason to drag your feet.
We can also maintain these conversations and be ready to finalize at the end result as another suggestion. I mean, I agree, I think we have an opportunity. It is definitely, as Director Putz says, funding for down the road, but, future planning is never a bad thing either, so.
And just to note, you might recall that one of the early steps that was presented in formation of CFD is adopting policies and procedures that relate to that CFD that you create. So that's an earlier step that the board can take before finalizing what the methodology is.
Great.
So I think all the points have been made that I made previously, the length of time it's going to take to get in. I just don't want to have this be viewed as this is going to be the end all and be all, and this is all we have to do.
No.
Because I think we'd be making a mistake. I don't mind moving forward with it at all. I think it probably makes sense to do it. But the question I have for Nick, we're talking about making mistakes. If we make mistakes with this, can it be unraveled, or is this set in concrete?
It can be, the board could disestablish the CFD and replace it with something else. Also, if you choose to create a CFD that does one thing, let's say you create a CFD that's commercial only, and then you decide in a year or two, oh wow, it's necessary to do residential in addition, or maybe there's some methodology that's layered on top of what the prior one was. Those are decisions that you can make in the future. You can't go back and just easily amend it the way you would some other things, but there are some ways to pivot, that you could either disestablish it and replace it with something that's either more comprehensive. Maybe if you find that the amount is too high, let's say, you could replace it with something that's lower. Those are all options the board has.
But it can't be eliminated, is what I mean.
It can be eliminated.
It can't be.
It just can't be amended. You can't go in and just say, we're gonna this year we're gonna fiddle with this amount, next year we're gonna fiddle with the amount. You kind of have to take the whole action again, or disestablish one that's been created.
You can't go, surprise, we doubled the rate or whatever the case.
Doesn't the first developer who annexes in vote on it?
Each developer,
But the first one will determine whether it's created or not, right?
technically it will be created, you just won't have any property formally in it.
And so the
but
first
each
developer
time-
comes forward and
Yes.
says, no,
It will,
I'm going to vote against it.
it will be a condition either placed by the city or the county of their property development. So when they're asking for some sort of a permit or a change in land use, or a building permit, it will be a condition of their building. So it's technically they could say no, but then they would not be able to move forward with their project.
So if I understand correctly, then we're essentially gonna blackmail people and to say that if you wanna build in Big Bear Valley, you've gotta be a part of this or not. We have no clue how much money this will or will not generate, given time. It sounds like we're betting on the come. You know, if we charge $100 a square foot, then is that gonna be enough to build fire stations? We have no clue. We have no clue what the need's gonna be. And when are we gonna stop going back to the taxpayers and saying, we need more money? Let's figure out how to get our house together first. We haven't done that yet. We haven't figured out how to get this budget balanced. We're still talking this fire authority taking in almost $20 million a year, and we can't seem to figure that out. I think this is way premature, and I think it's gonna be very harmful to this valley if we start coming up with this, and we already see a downturn in this housing economy up here as it is. So I think this is a mistake, personally.
I mean, I still am struggling with, I mean, if a big hotel comes in here, obviously, you know, the fire department, that's gonna be a stretch to handle a big fire. But I do struggle, especially after listening to all the people that came to our meeting, with the fact that we're not offering them anything new. And Rick could build a new house and I live right next door to him and I'm getting the same fire protection that he's getting, but he's paying more for the same exact thing.
That's where we cue Perry. Talk
What?
about disparities between mortgage rates and purchase prices and all
When you
all
buy
of
a
that.
ticket on an airplane, the person next to you, when you get a hotel room, the person next to you is not paying the
Yeah,
same thing
but
as you.
I
It happens
I
all the
struggle with
time.
that. So,
You have a different interest rate on your mortgage.
I mean, CFDs make sense to me when it's like a big development coming in and the CFD is putting in schools and parks and,
And
you
it's
know,
consistent against a broad chunk of
area. Yeah.
neighborhood.
I mean, the truth of the matter, this came about out of the ad hoc committee that I've only been on for I don't remember when you quit. And I put on, stepped down for justifiable reasons. And I feel like we've been throwing things at a wall, trying to come up with things, and this is the last thing, the last option and I don't know if it's good. I'm a data person, give me some information, help me understand how it impacts development in the valley, help me understand if it's really going to help improve our finances. And it's all very pie in the sky for me right now. And I feel like everybody's hanging their hat on it because there's nothing else for us to come up with. We got laughed at when we talked about doing a foundation. And I just don't know if it's the big magic, fix that is going to solve all of our problems and all of our financial problems here. And I understand the desire to want to move forward, and it sounds like there's a lot of work and a lot of decisions that would need to be made about it. But what is that dollar? Is it $100 per foot? What is that magic number that?
We had the list of right here.
But which one? And which one hurts the development? Think about when you're.
We choose.
But That's what I'm talking about, what we're throwing things at a wall and going, oh, I think that's the right number, based off of what?
We could change, like he said, we could change it if we.
But we would have to start, didn't he say that we would have to start over if we need to change the rate? Nick?
Yeah, you set up a new one, you can't
Reapply.
just.
Yeah. Like, oh, sorry, we were wrong.
I mean,
So
which
you
is,
start-
then you tell me which
Right now,
number,
we got nothing.
then you tell me which number you think.
I'd say that the B, the second one,
You said something.
it's the start. You're getting nothing now. You got all these hotels. I wouldn't put it on residential. I'd put it on commercial only.
And how much commercial do you have
Yeah.
going on in the
That's the
CSD?
problem. We don't have that much, but we're losing hotels. How many have we lost in the last couple of years? We could have put it on.
Could I just make a comment?
And the
regarding-
fire department, I mean, with the hotels, that puts a burden on them.
Well, you gotta get the first hotel to agree to taxing themselves and putting this Melrose on their property, which never goes away. I could have a challenge with that, with whatever hotel it is, because it's not, the hotel is the developer, but they're also the owner. When you have a developer of a large piece of property, they're basically selling everything off. And the Melrose is then applied to each one of the separate properties going in. I think that's gonna be a challenge, but you might be able to get somebody to join in. But I think that we should also be as transparent as we possibly can be with what this is and what it means to the community. So there's no big surprises afterwards. It seems like we keep talking about it as if we're just gonna do this under, excuse me, another cloak at night, nobody's gonna know. Somebody's gonna develop a hotel and boom, it's on them, but it's not gonna be that simple, I don't think. So I think we do need to get more information. Like I said, I'm not against getting more information regarding this. Is there a rush? Well, it's true that we could miss a hotel or two. That's a possibility. But I think the biggest challenge is not necessarily missing somebody getting a place. The biggest challenge is convincing that hotel developer to actually tax themselves and apply that to their property, which will be there in perpetuity unless it's removed. So I need more information with it in order to feel comfortable. That's why I'm saying if we move forward, I'm okay with that. Am I here to approve it tonight? I can't make that decision.
But I mean, the numbers that we have aren't even just on commercial. So these numbers have to be reworked to go, okay, we're not gonna do it on, if that's the way we're going, then we need to relook at all of these numbers. And what do those numbers look like if we're just looking at commercial? And besides the CFD, are there ways to ask businesses that are going to have an impact on the services that we provide to pay some sort of fee, whether it's at development or whether it's in perpetuity? That's one of the distinctions as well, which is, hey, I'm building a hotel and it's going to have 150 rooms. We think there's going to be an impact to the community, so you have to pay an X community impact fee, which is different than a Melrose in perpetuity. But the numbers that we have don't break out. This is single family and commercial. And so we need, I think these are absolutely worthwhile conversations, but that's additional data information that we need. What would those numbers have to look like if it was only on commercial?
Which I think is part of why Luke was saying for now he was recommending that we put a pin in it for now until we do get some more data. I mean, I left last month's meeting a little more confused, because I didn't find our consultants to be very clear on some of their information. So I left with more questions than answers. So, I mean, I'm not.
Candy?
Chuck?
Yeah, my only other concern is, are we looking at this as a development kind of fee where, yeah, we'll use it to buy engines and build stations if needed? Or what's my concern is looking at this as a way to pay salaries and stuff. And if we're looking at this as a salary, then we're walking down the same road. The prices, the amount's going to be fixed at some level, And we're gonna find ourselves at some point saying, you know, we need more money because we have to pay more to these firemen, which they deserve. But how do we come up with that money? So this is a trap that we can get ourselves in, that we're committing to spending on salaries on something. Even let's say we get a full bill out, this, the amounts of money needed are going to continue to go up, and we're not going to have any sources. So we'll be right back where we are today. So we really need to rethink how we're doing this.
Randy?
So I hate to be a broken record, but it comes back to this very simple question. Do we adjust our service levels to our funding, or do we adjust our funding to our desired service levels? That last one, adjusting funding to our desired service levels, for a long time, for years, we have not had any success with that. And what we're talking about now with the CFD, at best, 5 or 10 years from now, it will be something incremental and not anything we can rely on. Because even if you put it in and you make your best guess, or you have the data you need, or whatever the case may be, you can't predict how many people are going to improve properties. I mean, maybe there's some big recession, or maybe there's a big run on land, or, who knows what's going to happen. So we really have little idea of how it's going to impact us. And so based on that, we can't rely on it.
Right.
I think it would be foolhardy to rely on it. So at best, it is a future nice supplemental thing. And it seems like we don't have the motivation or the will to get right on it now, which is fine if we need more information and all that. But then we come back to the same question of, doesn't look like we're going to adjust our income to the desired service levels. I'm under that impression. Maybe someone else has a glimmer of hope otherwise. So then that leaves us with one option. How do we adjust our service levels to the funding that we have? And now we have a new wrinkle with this whole parity issue on that.
Right.
Too.
Well, now I'd like it. So what you're saying, another question just came up, which is that money safeguarded somewhere toward what it is that we're saying that we're trying to do? Do you know, Nick? Like, does it just go into the checking account, or?
I believe it, yes, it would go into general funds. For facilities CFD, the funds have to be used for facilities. For services CFD, I believe that the authority would have greater discretion on how it uses that money. For example, even if you used it for personnel, that might free up money that you could use for facilities or apparatus. There's more flexibility when it's for services, as this one is intended to be, than it is if it was just a facilities only. That's much more strict.
So we could be working towards, here we're trying to collect this money to work toward this option one, which was the equipment with the personnel. But if we're using the money to make payroll, we never get that.
It's that future board would decide how the money is used.
I think Al wanted to say something.
I'm not concerned whatsoever with what we're talking about. What I'm concerned about in the long future is decisions that need to be corrected so that I can water my daisies 10 years from now. You got a water situation out there you don't even talk about. And to me, we've had enough hotels already, even if you start thinking about another one, because it's going to take water, and I'm concerned about my pansies. Thank you.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't think we had this up for a vote tonight anyway.
No.
So,
So the staff needs direction.
excuse me?
Where does that leave us?
It was supposed to be directing staff. So are we saying shelve it or answer some more questions or what?
John?
So Chief, all of a sudden I heard that you wanted to shelve this till November?
Yeah, my recommendation is, if we're gonna get pushback from the community on this, which people will, realtors showed up to do that at our last meeting. They wanna know the why. What is the reason for this? I'd like to have the data to show them, this is the why. It's not we wanna add these things just cause. It's data driven. We are recommended to have, whatever extra units, the number of personnel. NFPA creates the recommendations. We presented that a few times to state, what they say we should have, but again, it's a recommendation. If you take that information, support it by the standard of cover that says you ought to be operating this many pieces of equipment in this many places, this number of personnel on daily, that just reinforces it. And that kind of provides, support to our decision as to where we go with this. I think that is a better plan for us. But again, it's a discussion point, it's a recommendation.
See,
Luke and I talked about this, and it makes sense to me to have more data.
Saying, but by the same token, you can't win by just sitting here waiting for the data, the flag to start, okay? It's like, to me, you gotta be ready ahead of time. And I get what he's saying, but also, I think initially what Randy said was, we just can't sit here. Okay, I'll do some humorous type stuff, because people always explain to me things car-wise, because I love cars, I love racing. Well, they always talk to me that way. And it's like, well, you know what? When we do something to the car to go faster, we don't know it's going to go faster or not. But you got to try something. And most of 75% of the times it works. And I think with enough, with enough people that we have here, knowing or being able to figure out approximately, like Randy said, though, we don't know if there's going to be a recession. We don't know if there's going to be a surge in land. So we're guessing at everything, even till November. And okay, according to the way I think, which probably is, people think it's stupid, but I just say, let's do it. And not necessarily just, right away, but pretty quick. Actually, I do think we should just do something. I don't think everyone wants to sit here and say, are we going to do this again, drag our feet for another 6 months or whatever? That's my thought. I think we need to act, and it's like, to some degree, to the extent we could adjust things or stop something and come back with it. I think we need to do something to show these people that we want to get some sort of money going here. And if it's 5 years, we don't know what's going to happen. Maybe there's going to be nothing, because you guys are already building one hotel. What if 2 more want to go up, and we're going to miss out on them too? So that, to me, that's my thought, and I'm done.
And this has been sitting in front of us for months, and the ad hoc committee has had it also. So we need to do something.
Well, the other thing too is the ad hoc committee, because we've actually been looking at it longer, and it was like there were more questions, there's more questions and answers. And I think it would be good to provide the realtors with the why, because they've already pointed out they're gonna sell the properties, depending on how we label it, they're gonna sell the properties that potentially don't have a CFD on it. So I think we need to get like some buy-in, before we get resistance on it.
And so you think that this data will get the buy-in or not?
I think our chief feels like that would help, having the data.
I think it's important. I think to be able to support that, other than just having a recommendation from an FPA, and that's not a group of, kind of ill-informed folks. They provide those recommendations, and that directs a lot of activities in the fire service across this country. But if that data is needed to provide more comfort with this board to move forward with it, then let's do that. It seems like there is a little bit of a split in opinions on that. There is uncertainty that comes with the CFD. That is true. But kind of looking around the communities in this corner of our county, from Barstow to Chino, vast majority of them have some form of Mello-Roos. So, I'll continue to dig for the answers that provide more certainty and provide more confidence in us moving forward with this. I have no problem with that. I support the idea of doing something to assist us in our abilities to continue to fund our organization and move it forward. But I need the support of this body here.
Randy?
Quick question, Chief or Nick. From the time we say, okay, let's do this, how long does it take to implement it? To go through drawing everything up and noticing and all of that? How long realistically or roughly?
I would probably say 2 to 3 months, needing time for certain things to happen at certain meetings and to get more firm direction. For example, it might be possible to bring the policies item to the board, let's say next month, at worst 2 months from now. And I don't know if there might need to be a couple preliminary policy decisions from the board on what that policy exactly says. Like, for example, do you want it to just be residential, just commercial, or both? But there are some, we can come up with a list of what are the fundamental questions that a majority of the board is ready to move forward with at either next month's meeting or the meeting after that. It doesn't mean you have to decide the exact dollar amount for which proposal you're doing. That would maybe come at a meeting later this year when there's actually a resolution before you that's going to set in stone that amount. But there are steps that the board could take on that initial policy. What are those key policy decisions on what this probably looks like, so that when you come, there's a final document that comes before you in the form of a resolution, a majority of the board is comfortable with that.
So I'm going to make a motion for board direction to staff. And that motion goes like this.
Public comment.
Public comment, okay.
I mean, is it appropriate?
It could be taken either before or after the motion. It's up to the.
Whatever, okay.
Say your motion while you have it in your head.
My motion is going to be to give direction to staff to put together a proposed CFD based on all the work that has already been done and bring it back to us for either approval or denial or tweaks to it. And I would ask that they dust off the study that's been done, whatever the one was a number of years ago that did all of the service level analysis and all of that. You can use that to make justifications and base certain levels on. But based on the work that's already been done, put together a proposed one based on what you've heard from us, based on your best judgment, Chief, put together a proposal for us so that we have something tangible and concrete in front of us and we can go yes, no, or we want to tweak this here and tweak that there and move forward with it. And that way we can make some progress. We can hopefully we can get out of a situation where the clock just keeps ticking and keep missing opportunity, or we just put the thing to bed and not deal with it anymore, not waste our time on it anymore. And then if we've already engaged the other study that you're saying is going to come in November.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So if, based on the timing, if that comes, then as we go through the process of tweaking it, I have a feeling it's not going to be a whole lot different from the one we did a number of years ago, but if for some reason it is, we can always go, well, pump the brakes for a second, let's tweak it this way or this way, because it's going to take a while to get this all together. I mean, even with staff direction, it's going to probably be quick to get it at the next meeting. So, I mean, we're already in September, and then we're only a couple months away from getting that report anyway. So that would be my motion.
That might be the longest motion I've ever heard.
Yeah. I understand. You want me to restate it?
Yeah, just simplify.
Okay. So my motion is to give staff direction that based on all the existing available data, put together a proposed CFD for the board to consider.
Okay, just to put in there, what is the time period that you want them to talk back? I mean, if you say 4 months, we might as well just wait till November. I mean, do you want to say like next month we have to know what make a
That's
decision?
fine. So I'll amend that at the next board meeting.
I can second that motion.
Okay, public comment.
You go.
No, you go. No, you go.
Okay, so I was at the meeting with the realtors, and I'm just gonna say that I think you can make a case for the realtors if you exclude residential. They were very specific in their comments about trying to sell a residential lot. I don't think they would balk. I think there's a justification for a commercial lot. Obviously, it's gonna require more fire department, a hotel. You've already missed the Hilton. You've already missed the expansion of Tractor Supply Grocery Outlet, that area. You've missed the expansion of the Marina Hotel. You're going to miss the Summit, the Basis No Summit Hotel. You've missed the part out of the remainder development of 80 acres on the CSD side. It seems to me like if you put together a commercial CFD, I think that would have no problem anybody understanding it, anybody buying into it. And I don't think a developer's gonna balk at, what is it, $1,000, $1,500 a year tax for a massive hotel. It's not even gonna register on their radar. So it's not gonna prevent them from developing, knowing the amount of revenue they're gonna receive from building a commercial building up here in Big Bear Lake. I would also say that on the residential side, I think it's a moot point as well. I think the realtors were being a little passionate, and I would push back on them to provide you with data. But anybody who wants to build in Big Bear is gonna build in Big Bear because they wanna live here, they've got the money. It's a few $100s a year is just part of doing business. Like we've all said, these Mala roofs are all down the mountain. People understand there's a cost to do it, and I really don't believe it'd be prohibitive, but I think you really should focus on the commercial side because you're missing revenue that could go into a coffer, it could be put into reserves. And not to challenge Nick, but I would just say that the hospital found out the hard way that their additional tax fund needed to be separately taken care of and accounted for. So I don't know if that's true with the Melrose, but you guys could craft the Melrose to only go in a Melrose account in your budget. And then that money be used for future purchases. So you don't have to commingle it with the salary expense and all that kind of stuff. So again, I would just really recommend you guys act on it immediately, form a commercial CFD. I think that could be easily explained to anybody, especially the realtors. So thank you.
Andrew?
All right. A lot to digest. I think I agree with Butts. The kicking the can down the road, we've already missed plenty of opportunities. I think we have plenty of time. We can look back at the service levels. But I think we have to understand that this Melrose is not for the current staffing model. So having a current staffing model data presented to us gives us no insight at what 20 years from now looks like. We are putting this in place now to fund the future of the fire department. This isn't for current staffing because the money's not going to be here now. So can we all agree that our projected need of resources is going to increase over the next 20 to 30 years? And I think everybody would say yes. Recessions, it doesn't matter what the dips do. 30 years from now is what we're planning for with this taxation. On the flip side of taxation, anywhere you go in the state of California is taxed. LA is 10.5. I own a business in Victorville. It is 8.75%. Across the street from me is 7.75%. Nobody drives somewhere else when they want what I have. That is the same concept as Big Bear. People are not gonna build a house in San Bernardino because Big Bear had a Melrose tax. That's not what they do. If you have enough money to develop, you have enough money to pay all the fees. So when you look at my tax bill, when you look at Patrice's tax bill, water, sewer, all gone up 10%. Automotive insurance in the state of California, 46%. You just pay what it costs to live in the state that you live in. If you go to San Francisco and you need a lift assist, it's $500 to the fire department to come pick you up off the ground. So everywhere is having this challenge. When you go to the CSD, they can just impose that because they're an enterprise or however they tax, right? We don't get that opportunity. So when we're talking about putting something in place now, getting it founded over the next 3 months, we need to capture every dollar that we can or find another route to get that taxation, right? You can go with sales tax. I brought that up so many different times. Victorville just did a 1.5% sales tax to the fire department. It's $30 million a year. I own a business there. People still come buy things from me at 8.75%. They don't even care. We just went to Vegas. Our room was $250 a night for 2 nights. That's $500. Our bill was $900. There was TOT, there was first responder fee, there was, you're on the strip, so it's gonna take a different unit to come to your, I didn't utilize that resource and it didn't stop us from going. So I think we need to look at, we're putting together something today that can be adjusted, it sounds like, multiple times for what we're gonna look like in 20 years. And right now, with the development of the hotel potentially at Snow Summit, we need to take advantage of it.
He touched on a lot of stuff I wanted to say, but, geez. I just want to remind everybody that this is a tiny organization. We're not big. We don't have 15 stations. These guys have been here for a very long time. We know where we need things. We know where we're slow to respond. It's not difficult to see where we can have another unit. We're this big. So the proposals that were put together in strategic planning with the work by all of us, that was vetted by us, by the people that know exactly where the red zones are in Moonridge. To me, waiting for a consultant with numbers, it means nothing. They're going to come in and say, it took 5 extra seconds over here to get there. But we know exactly the routes that we can take to get there faster. To me, the consultant thing waiting for it is a complete waste of time. The CFD is for the future. It's like 30 to 60 years out. I honestly think with inflation, it's probably not even going to touch anything that we think it's going to even help by that time. The real estate agents, I love them. They're my friends. I hang out with them all the time. But unfortunately, they're not understanding this is not going to impact their house sales. They believe that this is going to shut the door on their real estate sales overnight. They cannot comprehend this is for new development 30 to 60 years later. So I think if they really truly comprehended that, we wouldn't even be hearing anything from them. So.
All right.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
All right, along with what Andrew just said, we stayed overnight at the luxury hotel in Ontario, and it's like, shoot, we paid like $10, $15 a night for TOT. We never went out of the building, and I'll say an acquaintance of mine has a Napa store in Running Springs. He says, and this is kind of like for all the people that are going to come up here, maybe not in the summer, but he says he could charge whatever he wants for chains when people don't have their chains, they get there. He says, I could charge them $1,000. They whip out the card, they pay it, because when they're going to come to Big Bear, they don't give a rat's behind. Thank you. That is going to be $10, $20, $100 more. They're coming here with a mission, going up to Snow Summit. It could be $300, $400 a day. I don't know what the hell it costs anymore. It's like, they'll pay it, because that was their plan, was to come up here. And I feel that it's, like I say, it's a waste of time to, since other people are agreeing, so it's a waste of time to wait, especially if it's going to take 30 years before it kicks in. Why don't we just get going now? And like I said, Nick says we can adjust some things or whatever, and I just feel to sit around on your butt and not do anything is worse than making a mistake, and maybe it's going to turn out better than we thought. Maybe it'll be okay, but at least it's going to be something. That's all I'm going to say.
So if you added onto your house, you'd be okay then paying a CFD that got put on your property?
Yeah, I honestly would, because like, well, first off, I wouldn't, because our house is already bigger than we need it. But it's like, yeah, and I feel, because I'm staying in California, I'm staying in Big Bear. I'm gonna die here. You guys, sorry about that. But I'm gonna die here. It's like I'll be out there having a heart attack.
Not tonight, please.
No, I have to shovel snow, and then I'll have a heart. But I want to die here. And yeah, I would pay it.
So, Chief, if this motion goes through, then would the strategic committee need to, where we can pick one of the options to give the group a firm plan?
I think it'd be a good idea to plan a meeting between now and September's meeting where we could all meet and agree.
Okay.
Last question before we close. Sorry. Is it possible to give an estimate of cost to get us to that point? So we just have It's all legal costs, I presume. Kind of looking at you there. Let's use your glasses. Just so that we understand what we're financially working ourselves into.
I'll find out and talk to the chief. I don't know offhand.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Chardell, can we have roll call, please?
Of course. Director Russo,
Aye.
Director Walsh,
Aye.
Director Ziegler,
Aye.
Director Herrick,
Aye.
Director Hicks,
No.
Director Melnick,
Aye.
Director Putz,
Aye.
Vice Chair B. Rowe,
Aye.
Director J. Rowe,
Aye.
Board Chair Segovia.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right. So, all right, so that was FA 5. And committee reports, I don't know, I think we've pretty much talked the ad hoc thing to death, so I don't have anything more to say about that meeting. And the finance committee meeting was relatively quick.
It was relatively quick. We talked about a glimmer of hope. There actually was a glimmer of hope that came out of finance committee meeting. I don't know actually where it went, but we talked about the possibility the door was open, that maybe the county would come in with the extra 7.5%. I don't know if any progress has been made with that, but that was the first time I heard that. So I was kind of excited to hear of that possibility.
Contact has been made with County Supervisor Don Rao, and it's kind of opened up some additional questions at this point, waiting for answers on those. But efforts are underway, and hoping to be able to report something further with that in September for you all.
Okay. And as Patrice mentioned, I think it was a committee meeting, right? So that we should move forward with the budget, and I think we should move forward with the budget. And I understand the complication of actually putting a budget vote on the agenda if you know you don't have the votes to move it forward. It's another fail. And I think the last time we went through this, I don't know, I lost count of the fails until we got to a pass. So I'd like to, when we move into that, hopefully we will be at a point where we can all approve a budget and move forward and have some consistency with it. And with that, I'd suggested at the finance committee meeting as well, that if there are things in the budget that each one of the board members are not happy with, they need to bring those things forward so that the budget can be, I know you weren't in finance. So anyways, I'm talking about if we go back to finance. I'm reporting on the finance committee. So I understand that you did.
No, I want to speak after you.
Okay, so if there are things within the budget specifically that can be brought up and discussed, as opposed to just a broad, we're not going to vote for the budget. I think that would be very helpful discussions move the discussion forward and hopefully move a budget forward as well. And I know there's a lot of moving parts that we're working with as well. But I think even with that, an assurance that we have a budget we move forward with, I think would be good for the organization and each one of the separate organizations as well, as we try to work through this. So that's basically my report, and I'm sure you have something else.
Okay, no, I don't have anything else. It was a very quick meeting.
I have a question, if I could, on the finance.
Finance. Okay.
Can someone give us an update as to where we're at, what's expected, and how that translates into us having a budget at the board meeting to be able to vote on something?
I'll just reiterate, what we need to do is, if there are objections to the budget, those objections need to be brought to our general meeting for discussion and massaging of the budget, as opposed to just a blank, I object to the budget. Those are helpful discussions. Hopefully I'm being clear enough. As opposed
or I'm
to,
being slow.
in other words, I don't like item number 6 on line 4 regarding the ambulance service, which needs to be reduced, or directing our chief, please reduce the entire amount by whatever percentage your suggestion is. So it's something solid which we can work from, as opposed to just a blank objection, which we can't get anywhere with.
But if I'm remembering correctly, we had given the budget to the finance committee to work on something and bring back?
Yes, and I'll be honest with you, I asked several times for suggestions at Finance Committee of what should be done with the budget, and it was crickets.
As I said, it was a very quick meeting.
Yeah, I couldn't inspire the Finance Committee to look deeply into the budget in order to find those places where we could save money or give direction to the chief for that matter.
Okay, so from the perspective of the Finance Committee, what are next steps, if any, towards getting a budget for the board to approve?
I believe we should take what taxes come in on the east side and then the city matches that.
Okay,
That would be our budget.
I appreciate that, Bob, but to my question, I'm trying to understand where we're headed and what it's gonna take for us to get a budget here back at the board that we can approve or not.
Well, I mean, potentially it would have to be maybe something like what Bob is saying.
Whatever taxes come in on the east side, because we, obviously, CSD can.
I'm sorry, I must not be speaking clearly. Let me put it this way. Before the Finance Committee right now, is there any pending work?
No.
Okay, so what trigger or motivation or impetus is there to get a budget back here before the board so that we can approve something?
Well, Bob's suggestion is a suggestion that I'm hearing for the first time. So if that come up in the Finance Committee.
I just want to note that this is just a report item from the Finance Committee,
So
if the board can't get
if
into
you don't
the
mind, I
budget.
have the floor.
But
So that was the first time that I heard that suggestion. And maybe it was brought up before, and maybe I wasn't listening carefully enough for that. It's my bad. But I think that is a very viable option that we can look at. And I think we should seriously look at that option or any other option that comes forward. But we need those ideas on the table that we can then move forward with. I think that's critical, and I would like to see it maybe on the next agenda, possibly. I don't know if we have time or we want to go back to the Finance Committee for it before, but that's a possibility, but I'd like to see it more productive than the last one. And if that's possible, then I think it would go to Finance, and then I think it could come back here, and I think we could do something with it and be positive, and who knows what the vote might be on it, but it's better than doing nothing, in my opinion.
So is the question, or is the answer to my question relative to the Finance Committee, what work, if any, is before the Finance Committee to get us towards an approved budget? The answer to that is there's currently no work before the Finance Committee, right?
Correct.
Okay.
There's no production which I can lay out. There's only the glimmer of hope regarding the extra 7.5 from the county. I think that was the most positive thing.
Yes, that is the most positive thing that came out of that meeting. And it was a very quick meeting, but I do recall Bob saying that.
Can I interject something here right quick? Can we just task the Finance Committee with preparing, in consultation with the chief, of course, a budget to present to us at our next meeting? Task the members of this board to make whatever recommendations they may have to that, to modify the budget and get that to the Finance Committee before their meeting, and then have something to present. Let the Finance Committee do its job, have them present a budget to us based on the input, give us one more and so we'll be in position maybe in, what is this, August to September, to vote on this budget. I think that's the quickest way to do it rather than keep singing around the bush.
I mean, I'm not opposed to having another Finance Committee meeting.
But didn't we already ask that?
I believe that we were presented with a budget in one of the iterations that showed the shortfall. Is that correct?
Yes, we did present a budget in which the CSD and Fire Protection District contributed equal amounts of property taxes. And if you remember, that was the one where we closed the Sugarloaf station. So I can bring that back again if you'd like, but the one, if you recall, that I presented at the finance committee meeting was the one we were asked to bring, and there were no suggestions. And it was my understanding from that committee meeting that the next step was to bring it to this meeting and have an approval, yes or no on that. I'm not sure why that didn't happen, but it's my understanding that the next step is to bring that budget to this board meeting and ask for approval. So perhaps we can go ahead and bring that to the next one and ask for approval, because I believe that was supposed to happen today.
I mean, I know that I had sent emails and brought up very specific line items at the meeting 2 months ago or whatever it was, with very specific questions of why there were certain line items that were in the budget that were not operating expenses. The email was forwarded on, and it just seems like, I mean, I guess I can find it again, but I've asked the same questions multiple times, that there are things included as operating expenses for the fire authority that are not operating expenses of the fire authority. And why are they in there? And those were the changes that I wanted to see in a budget that was coming back.
If I didn't answer those questions in my response to you, feel free to reach back out. It was my understanding that I had, so
No,
if I
I mean,
haven't, please feel free
CST
to-
lights are not a fire authority expense.
They're not. It's a
They should
deduction.
not be included as a line item in the fire authority. And I realize I'm getting off of, this is a budget conversation. So I would ask that things that are not fire authority operating expenses not be included in the fire authority budget.
If you could call me, please, I'd be glad to explain that to you.
And we've gone back and forth.
I think we need to have a conversation rather than an email.
We should. So save that for the meeting and make sure it's in a motion of something that actually be taken on. Because I saw your email.
I saw it
but
too.
we can't take action on an email that you sent regarding.
No,
questions.
it was supposed to be
No,
through the
I
finance.
understand. I'm just suggesting that the best place to do it is when we're actually in a board meeting discussing the
I will
budget.
bring it up again. Happy to do it. I will put a pin in it
Okay,
And
so,
make it a motion,
and make it a
so we
motion.
can take action.
so how did we start talking about budget again?
Oh, because we're on finance.
Yeah,
We're on
okay.
finance, so.
So I'm hearing maybe we should have another finance committee meeting. And potentially, since Bob's on the finance committee also, we'll bring that up again and see if something comes out of that. Maybe bring that budget to the finance committee and we'll,
Well, I think the budget needs to be put on the next agenda.
we need to have our finance committee meeting before that. Right?
We'll do that.
We can, there's four of us, so we should be able to act on that quickly, hopefully.
We'll work tomorrow to schedule a date.
All right? So, finance committee meeting.
Thank you.
On board. Okay. Director's closing comments. Anything?
I'll just say thanks for listening tonight.
Thanks for listening. Okay. Going.
Can do. Couple things,
Chuck? Sorry.
positive things. That's all right. Went to a national night out last week. Was happy to see the fire department there in all its glory. And the guys look good, and I was impressed. The other thing is that for those who, well, there was a constituent that asked about the old emergency alarm systems, the sirens that we used to have around the city. And come to find out that those were pretty much shut down about 8 years ago. And because of cell phones and telephone technology today, the San Bernardino Office of Emergency Services will use your telephone as a way of contacting our residents on any emergency situation. So if you are interested in getting on that system, you just need to go to your website, San Bernardino County Government Office of Emergency Services, and look for Telephone Emergency Network System, or TENS, and you can get signed up to be notified of any emergency situation. That's it.
Thank you, Chuck. All right. I am going to adjourn this meeting.
at 6:37.
I'm
Sorry, I'm adjourning the open session, moving into closed session, and we're gonna wait a minute for.
Public communication.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. All right. Anybody want to speak on closed session?
No, but were we supposed to be allowed to do public comment on the committee reports?
Do you have something you want to say?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll just say something quick. Bob, just so you understand what it means to break even on the pay. Jack Gardner, Corey Emerson, Andrew Rodriguez, Alex Marshall, Nicholas Mercado, Brandon Carpenter, and Clayton Letkovich will lose their jobs along with Station 283 closing. So I just wanted to put some names to that, okay?
I didn't quite understand what you.
So if you break our budget even to where you take away the $2 million.
I'm not taking away anything.
No, I know,
Yes, you
but
are.
no, if you make it to where the budget's equal pay, those 6 people get fired
If the city
along with
wants to
Station
pay
283 closing. just
what
so you
they're
know.
paying, fine,
Yeah.
but the county can't pay any.
Oh, I know, I get it, but I'm just letting you
We're
know that.
way off agenda.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right.
We have a couple.
Okay.
I just want to clarify to Bob, you are recommending to the entire board that since CSD can't pay any more, that Big Bear pay less.
No, I'm saying, they're the ones that,
Really,
Okay, I can't-
this
I
needs
can't-
to be safe for discussion we're having.
Okay.
I understand your comments are fine,
Yeah.
just don't expect the
I
board to
understand.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it in the finance meeting, but it's a $2 million reduction, and John just put faces to a name, the closure of Sugarloaf, and those 7 gentlemen will lose their jobs because there won't be enough money to pay. So let's really think about what we're recommending to the entire board. Thank you.
So I just have one question to Putz's question, which was, what is in front of the finance committee that action needs to be taken to get to a place where the budget can be approved? And your comment was there is nothing in front of the finance committee at this time. So my question.
Could you call me regarding that?
Yeah.
I'd be glad to fill you in.
My only question is, if there's nothing in front of you, why is it not being presented to the board? And that's my only question.
I think everybody wants to hear the answer to that.
Yeah.
Like your budget is affecting.
We don't do that.
yeah,
us. It's affecting my family up here.
Okay.
I'm a third generation.
The meeting is closed.
Ricky, you can call me too. I think everybody has my number, my cell number. Please,